Hey everyone, welcome back to Animal Prime, your backstage pass to the wildest wonders on Earth. Tonight we're opening a velvet rope door that even most cat lovers don't know exists. A secret club where felines cost more than sports cars, their pedigrees read like mythological family trees, and their beauty feels almost forbidden. So take a deep breath, settle in, and picture this. A living jewel stepping onto a marble floor, its coat rippling like silk under chandelier light. That is the Ashera, and it's only the beginning. Imagine hearing that a single cat can fetch $125,000, and there might be fewer than 10 true specimens alive. The Ashera's story sounds like an urban legend. A biotech firm in the mid-2000s claimed to blend African Serval agility, Asian leopard cat patterning, and a dash of domestic gentleness. Some experts still debate whether those genetics were ever delivered, or whether enterprising breeders simply rebranded existing hybrids. Either way, when an Ashera pads across a room, you feel gravity shift. Up close, the pattern isn't just spotted. It flows, as if someone inlaid molten bronze into each hair shaft. Its ears are high and cupped like satellite dishes, picking up whispers you and I will never hear. And when sunlight hits its back, faint ghost stripes appear, several echoes sneaking through the design. Whether science or marketing conjured this phantom, one truth remains. The Ashera embodies how far humans will go to own a slice of the extraordinary. But exclusivity isn't only about price tags. Sometimes it's about heart-pounding proximity to the untamed. Meet the Savannah F1, the first-generation cross between a serval and a domestic cat, a deliberate marriage of wilderness and living room comfort. If you've ever watched a cheetah stretch, you'll recognize that same elastic grace in a Savannah's shoulders. Its legs are impossibly long, accounting for nearly 2/3 of its body height, giving it a runway model stroll that makes ordinary house cats look like plush toys. Stand eye to eye with one and you'll find gold-green irises rimmed in jet black, like mascara painted by nature. Yet the real magic happens when they leap. F1 can spring 7 feet straight up, clearing refrigerators, bookshelves, and your last line of defense in a heartbeat. Owners describe them as loyal like dogs, elegant like deer, and mischievous like toddlers, which means they'll fetch toys, purr in your lap, then figure out how to turn on the faucet just to watch the water spiral. Now, if the Ashera is a whispered rumor and the Savannah is a daring experiment, the Caracat feels downright fantastical. Because this hybrid begins with a caracal, the desert lynx famed for ear tufts that flick like paintbrush tips. Picture a midnight red coat, sleek as polished teak, capped with 2 inky spikes of fur that twitch whenever a sound waved through the air. Breeders attempted the first caracal domestic cross only 2 decades ago, and success stories are rare. Caracal genes tend to dominate, making each kitten a wild card. Full grown, a Caracat can weigh 40 pounds, part house pet, part prowling panther, with paws built for silent sand dunes now padding across hardwood floors. Their voices are almost cinematic, deeper than a purr, smoother than a growl, rolling out like distant thunder. And those eyes, amber pools that seem to hold desert sunsets, lock onto yours with an intelligence that borders on uncanny. People who live with Caracats say you never own them. You earn a fragile truce, a friendship on the cat's terms, rewarded by moments when that wild gaze softens and they curl beside you, tail drifting like a flame. 3 cats, 3 radically different paths to rarity. Yet they share a deeper thread. They blur boundaries between rumor and record, Savannah and sofa, desert legend and domestic life. And perhaps that's why we find them irresistible. They remind us that the natural world isn't a postcard we hang on the wall. It's a living, breathing epic still being written, sometimes in our very homes. So stay right where you are. Ahead lies a werewolf in feline form, sapphire-eyed phantoms, and a bobtail that hops like a bunny but fishes like a bear. Trust me, you don't want to blink. You're still with me. Good, because our midnight tour is about to slip from marble halls into moonwash forests where folklore meets genetics. When the Caracat's last echo fades, something else steps out of the shadows. A silhouette so ragged it could be mistaken for a creature caught halfway through a spell. That first glimpse always makes people gasp. then lean closer. Meet the Lykoi, better known as the werewolf cat, a name it earns the moment light hits its patchy silver-black coat and you realize tufts of guard hair sprout and recede like faces of the moon. The mutation appeared less than 15 years ago in a Tennessee barn, baffling veterinarians who first assumed mange. Tests proved the cats were perfectly healthy. Their follicles simply refused to grow a full pelt, leaving a salt and pepper mosaic that exposes warm skin beneath. Watch a Lykoi tiptoe. It stalks with head low, shoulders rolling, an almost lupine prowl that sends a shiver of ancestral caution up the spine. Yet when it finally looks up, the eyes are pure house cat curiosity, wide in caramel gold. Owners swear these felines know how startling they look. They'll hide behind furniture, then leap out with a playful boo, as if in on the Halloween joke. And at night, when they curl on your lap, their sparse fur feels like velvet interrupted by satin. A tactile reminder that nature occasionally drafts new blueprints just to keep us humble. From shadowed barns, we travel to desert dawn, where a single trait can define destiny. Picture a cat walking toward you across adobe dust. Fur plain tabby, tail relaxed, nothing extraordinary, until the sun catches her gaze and the world tilts. Those eyes are an impossible cobalt, deeper than Caribbean lagoons, framed by dark eyeliner that seems applied with a calligrapher's pen. This is the near-mythic Ojos Azules, Spanish for blue eyes, a breed so scarce that some registries count fewer than 24 living examples. Unlike Siamese sapphires linked to color point coats, the Ojos gene switches irises to neon blue no matter the body pattern. Tortoiseshell, calico, or solid black doesn't matter. But rarity comes at a cost. When two carriers pair, embryos often fail. The gene in double dose proves lethal. Breeders, therefore, match a single Ojos parent with ordinary partners, accepting small litters where perhaps one kitten emerges with that electric gaze. Hold such a kitten and you'll notice the eyes seem almost lit from within, like headlights glimpsed through fog. Legends already sprout. Stories of miners in 1980s New Mexico who first spotted the trait sparkling from a feral cat under starlight, believing it a spirit guide. Whether you credit lore or genetics, one fact remains. Gaze into those eyes too long, and you'll feel an uncanny invitation, as if the cat sees possibilities beyond your horizon. We leave the high desert by boat, skimming north across the Pacific to volcanic islands where fog hangs low and salmon leap silver arcs. Here, fishermen tell of a cat that hunts alongside them, perched on gunnels with the balance of a tightrope walker, diving paw first for wriggling prey. The Kurilian bobtail may weigh only 10 pounds, but its barrel chest and spring steel muscles make it feel twice that. Its most famous feature, a pom-pom tail of kinked vertebrae, wags like a fluffy question mark, each cat's tail as unique as a fingerprint. On the curls, people swear that tail shortens with every generation spent chasing foxes across jagged cliffs. Others claim volcanic spirits reached up and pinched it. Whatever the cause, the result is a feline built for athletic problem-solving. They can scale door frames, fetch thrown sticks like retrievers, and they do love water, splashing through ponds to scoop trout. When one finally settles on your sofa, the coat smells faintly of sea wind, and you realize this is no decorative pedigree, but a frontier partner, equally content stalking forest mice or warming your knees through a northern winter. Our journey bends once more, this time towards sun-drenched savannas of the imagination. Suppose you wanted the liquid grace of a serval, those long legs, those golden rosettes, without crossing ethical lines that tether wild blood too closely to human homes. Enter the Serengeti cat, a choreographed solution first attempted in California. Breeders paired an elegant Bengal hybrid with an oriental shorthair, then selected generation after generation until the result walked like a reed in the wind. Tall, lanky, mottled with inky spots that scatter across a tawny backdrop. A Serengeti in motion feels like studying time-lapse photography. Each stride stretches into a slow-frame glide, ears swiveling like parabolic mics for the unseen. They chirp rather than meow, small, staccato notes you might hear from distant quail. And reviewers often joke that Serengetis come with a built-in subwoofer. Leave paper bags out and you'll hear thunderous rustling as the cat tunnels through, hunting imaginary grasshoppers. Yet when the day winds down, they morph into lap pillows, draping those endless legs over your arm, eyes half closed. Purring like rainfall on a tin roof. 4 felines, 4 ways rarity reveals itself. Through spectral coats, gemstone eyes, adventurous tails, and limbs forged from a sculptor's dream. What ties them together is a quiet rebellion against the predictable. They refuse to fit the template of house pet familiarity, reminding us that the genetic dice never stop rolling, that evolution is both artist and gambler, and if there's a lesson hidden in their paws and pelts, it might be this. Our planet's library of life still writes new chapters. All we have to do is keep reading, respectfully, responsibly, wide-eyed. Don't wander off yet. We still have cats that swim like otters, others whose curls mimic lamb's wool, and even a miniature tiger stalking the linoleum jungle. The night is young, and the rarest pages are waiting to turn. The lantern of curiosity still burns bright, so let's follow its glow to the humid lowlands of coastal Kenya, where age-old casuarina trees drop shadows like melted chocolate on the forest floor. There in the dappled light moves a cat whose coat mimics the timber all around it, each swirl and chevron the color of weather-sealed mahogany. Locals call it kadzonzo, but the world knows it as the Sokoke. At first glance, you might mistake those markings for random tabby stripes, until you notice the pattern never repeats. It resembles woodgrain captured in motion. Watch a Sokoke sprint, and you'll understand why scientists believe its ancestors danced up mangrove branches to escape monsoon floods. The legs uncoil like tensioned springs, back feet landing where front paws lifted not a heartbeat before. Yet when a Sokoke pauses, head tilted, you see something paradoxically domestic. A gentle curiosity, a quiet willingness to share space with the 2-legged giants who have begun safeguarding its future. In the 1970s, a Kenyan farmer offered a pair of these forest spirits to a visiting wildlife artist. That gesture saved the bloodline. Without it, the Sokoke might now exist only as folklore told over evening fires. Trade humid air for St. Petersburg's wintry breath, where palaces cast pastel reflections on frozen canals. Here in apartments warmed by radiators older than jazz. A different marvel stretched its first hairless limb in the mid-1990s. The Peterbald arrived almost by accident. Born when breeders crossed a sleek oriental shorthair with a Donskoy, a Russian hairless cat whose baldness is caused by a dominant gene rather than the recessive Sphinx trait. What emerged is a feline as versatile as a couture designer's swatch book. Some kittens are completely nude, skin as smooth as hand-blown glass. Others wear a whisper-thin flock that feels like suede under candlelight. Still others sport a velvety brush coat that may recede with age, like a tide drawn outward by the moon. The Peterbald's silhouette is poetry. Long whiplash tail, crane-like neck, ears flared wide as radar dishes. But the real enchantment lies in personality. People describe them as diplomats who greet every house guest with a head bump, then steal pens mid-phone call just to remind you that etiquette should never be boring. On frigid nights, they burrow beneath blankets, body temperature radiating like a personal space heater, proving that vulnerability, be it hairless skin or an open heart, can be its own kind of armor. From icy boulevards, we fly south again, this time landing amid the turquoise lakes of eastern Anatolia. Legend says Noah's Ark grounded nearby, and perhaps that's why the Turkish van seems born of both land and water. Imagine an all-white cat wading into a pond at sunrise, the only color 2 flame-red splashes painted on head and tail, as if a careless artist dipped a brush in copper, then flicked twice before setting it down. Van kittens learn to paddle almost as soon as they walk. Fishermen along Lake Van still tell stories of small, creamy shapes diving after minnows that flash like coins. Their semi-long fur is water-resistant, each strand fused with an oil that beats droplets the way wax repels rain. And their eyes, sometimes both amber, sometimes both sky blue, sometimes one of each, seem carved from gemstones smuggled out of ancient mines. Sit beside a van in the quiet hours of dawn, Hear the lapping water, feel the cat's tail flick a spray across your arm, and you'll realize the creature embodies contradiction, a feline that chooses the element most others shun. A reminder that boundaries nature draws are invitations, not fences. Before fatigue arrives, one more surprise awaits. Small enough to nestle inside a bicycle helmet, yet crafted from spare parts of cats twice its size. The Minskin began in Boston at the turn of this century, its creator envisioning a feline mashup that combined the dwarf legs of a munchkin with the velvety nakedness of a sphinx, softened by the plush coat of a Devon Rex and the curious gaze of a Burmese. The result looks like a cartoon come alive. Body low and sturdy, paws wide as coasters, coat half-clothed in fuzzy points that accent ears, muzzle, and tail, leaving the torso mostly bare. Run a finger along a Minskin's back, and you'll feel warm microfiber accented by patches of cashmere. They don't stride so much as toddle, back-end hopping to keep pace with the front, yet no obstacle seems too tall. If determination were measured in inches, they'd tower. Owners swap stories of Minskins scaling couchbacks like mountaineers, then plunging down the other side and giggling abandon. Tuned to human emotions, they park themselves on keyboards during stressful workdays and chirp a tiny question, break time, until tension melts. Now the room feels fuller. Kenya's living hardwood carving, Russia's silken ambassador, Anatolia's swimmer in a painter's mask, Boston's miniature patchwork. 4 more chapters, each illustrating how rarity is not a single note, but a symphony of mutation, geography, and human imagination. Listening closely, you can almost hear the chords overlap. The splash of Turkish water echoing the brush of Peterbald skin, the Sokoke's forest rustle harmonizing with the Minskin's quiet pep. Somewhere between those sounds lies the heartbeat of biodiversity, steady yet vulnerable, asking only that we keep the story alive. Stay close. Ahead are curls worthy of a lamb, stripes fit for a jungle king, and a speckled speedster that once graced the laps of pharaohs. The adventure hasn't even exhaled its final breath. The adventure indeed is still drawing breath, and it exhales now over rolling hills as soft and gold as wheat in late summer. Picture that glow catching the curls of a cat so plush you might mistake it for a lamb resting in the meadow. That is the Selkirk Rex, the only feline whose ringlets come from a dominant gene, meaning every kitten born of a Selkirk parent inherits at least a hint of those riotous curls. Run your fingers through the coat and you feel layers. The outer guard hairs spiral like ribbon candy. The downy undercoat bunches in clouds, and somewhere between the two is a spring that makes the whole pelt bounce back like memory foam. Unlike the sleek Peterbald or the streamlined Serengeti, a Selkirk wears its softness the way a Baroque composer wears ornamentation, lavishly, unapologetically. Yet behind the luxurious facade lives a comedian. These cats are famous for greeting guests by flopping onto their backs, paws kneading the air as if they're molding invisible clay. Perhaps that playful spirit descends from the breed's unlikely origin, a single shelter kitten found in Montana in 1987, whose curly coat turned heads and hearts until breeders realized they'd stumbled onto a genetic treasure. They dubbed her Miss DePesto after a sitcom character who never stopped asking questions, and her descendants still embody that inquisitive charm. From plush excess, we turn to sculpted intent, stepping into a studio where nature's wild grandeur meets human design. Imagine wanting a tiger in your living room, not in menace, but in miniature, a walking reminder of jungles under threat. That dream birthed the Toyger, a breed engineered in the 1990s by Judy Sugden, who noticed distinctive tabby markings on her cat's temple that looked like a big cat's cheek stripes. She envisioned a domestic ambassador for conservation, a cat patterned so convincingly like its endangered counterpart that every rust and charcoal stripe would spark a conversation about habitat loss. Decades of careful pairing followed, selecting wide, bold bands that wrap the flanks in liquid geometry, encouraging muscular bodies, broad muzzles, and low-set ears. Watch a Toyger move and you'll see that design realized. Shoulders roll, tail flicks with deliberate weight, paws plant softly yet confidently, and the coat flashes like molten copper under lamplight. Owners call them little striped diplomats. They'll lounge on a keyboard while you read an article about shrinking Sumatran forests, purring loud enough to remind you that the line between pet and predator is a thin, precious thread. Our path tilts eastward again, over saffron deserts and jade valleys to the banks of the Nile, where legends claim cats first learned they were gods. In ancient murals, one slender feline appears again and again, frozen mid-pounce, speckled like sunlight on river water. Fast forward 4 millennia, and you can still meet its descendant, the Egyptian Mao, the world's fastest domestic cat, clocked at roughly 30 miles per hour, swifter than a sprinter in the Olympics. The secret lies in 2 anatomical marvels: a loose flap of skin that stretches from flank to knee, allowing a full cheetah-style stride, and hind legs that are proportionally longer than the front, loading each bound with coil spring propulsion. But numbers alone miss the poetry. Stand in a patch of afternoon sun and watch the Mao's mascara lines. Dark strokes from eyes to jaw. Frame moss-green irises so alert they seem to anticipate your next blink. The spots across the silver, bronze, or smoke coat aren't painted on. They rise from the follicle itself, each a tiny exclamation mark of heritage. Owning a Mao is like hosting a living statue. At rest, they exude pharaonic composure, yet with the flick of a tail, they explode into kinetic art, zigzagging after a feather toy so fast you swear the room just shrank. We close this chapter on rarities with a cat whose fame blossomed from serendipity in rural New York during the 1960s. A single farm kitten was born with a coat that felt like steel wool, springy, wiry, each hair bent at unsettling right angles. Rather than fade as the kitten grew, the texture intensified, producing a mature pelt both bristly and resilient, capable of repelling water better than many short-haired breeds. Thus began the American Wirehair, a breed so distinct that geneticists classify its coat mutation as separate from every other known feline fur type. Run your hand over an American Wirehair's back, and you feel a gentle rasp, as if stroking corduroy turned to life. The whiskers, too, kink into tight coils, little question marks perpetually asking, what's next? What comes next, inevitably, is play. These cats possess a rough-and-tumble spirit, ready to chase toy mice with the exuberance of terriers, yet they settle just as eagerly onto a child's lap, content to be read a bedtime story. In their wires and whorls lies a subtle lesson. Perfection can sprout from the unexpected, value from variance, beauty from the places where symmetry breaks. 4 stories, 4 fresh variations on the theme of extraordinary curls that echo sheepfolds, stripes that preach conservation, spots that outrun history, fur that rewrites texture itself. If you've listened closely, you may have noticed a rhythm. Each breed is a bridge, spanning wild roots, human curiosity, and the fragile ecosystem in between. Step out onto any of those bridges and you'll feel it sway, lightly, precariously, reminding us that rarity is less a badge of luxury than a signal flare. Protect what is uncommon before uncommon becomes unseen. Stay with me for one last breath. Ahead awaits a fairy-sized cat that could vanish inside a teacup, a smoky monk draped in storm cloud silk, and a closing thought on why the tiniest paw print can echo loudest through our shared future. The final pages are turning. Let's read them together. Take a slow breath. The room feels quiet now, as if everyone present senses we're nearing the last secret on tonight's tour. But smaller doesn't mean lesser. Sometimes the greatest wonder slips through the narrowest doorway, and you need only kneel to meet it. Imagine a cat no heavier than a quart of milk padding across a beam of afternoon light. Her body is compact, yet perfectly in proportion, muscles taut as harp strings, tail flicking like a metronome keeping time in a jazz club. This is the Singapura, often called the Little Lion of Singapore, though lion hardly captures the delicacy with which she moves. At barely 4 pounds, she could hide inside a sneaker box, yet every step broadcasts confidence. Shoulders rolled back, chin up, eyes glowing like polished jade. Scientists classify her coat as sepia agouti, each hair banded in warm browns that create the illusion of constant sunshine. And in that subtle radiance, you can read the alleys of the city-state where the breed's ancestors scavenged for scraps amid rickshaw wheels and monsoon puddles. Crouch to her level and you'll notice something odd. She doesn't shy away. Instead, she tilts her head as if to say, "You may proceed." Singaporeans thrive on partnership. They prefer to ride on shoulders, sleep tucked into elbows, and supervise keyboard taps from 2 inches away. In some households, they learn to fetch crumpled receipts, trotting proudly back with trophies twice their muzzle width, purring loud enough to rattle coffee mugs, and their voices, breathy chirps more than meows, feel like inside jokes whispered between old friends. People often ask whether such a small frame is fragile. The truth is quite the opposite. Decades of street survival forged dense bones and wiry sinew, granting the Singapura a vertical leap that defies physics. Place a feather toy 5 feet up and she'll launch in a single arc, tail swirling to steer, paws scooping treasure from the air before gravity even remembers its duty. The Singapura's shadow fades, replaced by something softer, rounder, cloaked in an aura of quiet contemplation. Picture an abbey on a rainy evening. Candles flicker, incense drifts, and there, poised between gold-lit columns, sits a cat whose fur resembles a storm cloud, deciding whether to break. That feline sage is the chartreux, France's smiling blue cat, a nickname earned not only from the gentle upturn of its muzzle, but from centuries of companionship offered to poets, monks, and seafarers. Legend insists chartreux lineage traces to Carthusian monasteries, where brothers valued silent hunters who spared food stores from rats, yet never broke the hush of prayer. Modern geneticists temper the tale. Records are thin, but when a chartreux fixes you with luminous copper eyes, you can almost hear cloister bells echo across old stone. Run a hand across that slate blue coat and you'll find woolly density, double layers of plush guard hairs that part like fog under a passing breeze. The body beneath is surprisingly athletic, broad shoulders, powerful hindquarters, ready to sprint after a toy mouse in a blur, then resume its statuesque stillness by the window. Chartreux kittens mature slowly, sometimes taking 3 years to reach full splendor, which means adopting one is a lesson in patience, in watching potential develop at its own measured tempo. They speak rarely, but when they do, the voice is gravelly and low, like a friendly engine idling somewhere deep inside the chest. Those who live with chartreux insist the cats understand moods. They appear during late-night work sessions, pressing a substantial head against your wrist, as if offering ballast against worry, reminding you that deadlines shrink when measured beside a calm heartbeat. 2 felines, one barely the size of a morning sparrow, the other stout as a weathered novel, yet both embody the same paradox: rarity that feels familiar. They are accessible ambassadors of the extraordinary, proof that the universe scatters miracles on every scale, from pocket-sized curiosity to plump philosopher. And so our list, which began with price tags that rival luxury sedans and hybrids half wild, concludes with creatures whose value lies not in exotic lineage charts or viral social media clips, but in the humble gift of presence, the way a Singapore's chirp cuts through digital noise, the way a chartreux's amber stare pins a drifting thought back to earth. Take a moment and replay the journey. The phantom Ashera shimmering under chandelier light, the Savannah's 7-foot vertical dare, the Lykoi prowling like a Halloween prank come alive, the Kurilian fisherman, the Peterbald diplomat, the Selkirk cloud, the Toyger envoy, the Mao sprinter, the Wirehair rebel. 17 chapters, each a testament to biology's restless creativity and humanity's intertwined urge to steward, to shape, to cherish. Together they read like a single epic poem, verses of stripes and spots, choruses of curls and tufts, refrains of hush and roar. And threaded through it all, one question: what will we do with this knowledge of rarity? Will we collect it, exploit it, or protect it? Here's my hope. Tonight, after the screen goes dark and the purrs fade into memory, you'll remember one detail: the Peterbald's suede skin, perhaps, or the chartreux's monkish calm. And let that spark a promise. Maybe you'll support a shelter, choose adoption over novelty, or share a conservation article with a friend. Maybe you'll simply step outside, listen for the hush of night, and feel gratitude that our planet still spins a tapestry so intricate no algorithm could predict its weave. And if any cat on this list stole your heart, tell us below. Which breed and why? Was it the lamb-swirled Selkirk, the werewolf Lykoi, the lightning-fast Mao, or tonight's pocket lion? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We read every single one, and your voice might guide the next deep dive. And if you crave more journeys into the improbable corners of the animal kingdom, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. We have expeditions lined up, creatures that glow, birds that paint with sound, predators that hunt with tools, and we'd hate for you to miss the first glimpse. Until then, from the tiniest paw print to the broadest swipe of a jungle stripe, remember, every heartbeat we share the planet with is part of our collective story. Protect it, celebrate it, and let wonder lead the way. Good night from Animal Prime, where rarity is only the first page of adventure.